If your nightmares come alive at 3 a.m., you're in the right place. Welcome to 3 a.m. Tales by Wren. Are you ready to face your deepest fears? Then join us, if you dare. It happened on a night not unlike this one, under the pale glow of the moon and the rustling of leaves in the wind. This story is about 3 teenagers who found themselves in a situation they would never forget. A situation that still haunts their dreams to this day. Ah yes, it was one of those unnaturally cold summer nights in Willow Creek. The kind where the air feels thick and the cicadas hum a relentless, eerie chorus. The moon hung low, casting long, sinister shadows that seemed to move on their own. The town, with its quiet streets and old creaky houses, seemed to hold its breath as shadows danced in the flickering streetlights. Every rustle of the leaves, every distant howl sent shivers down the spine. It was on such a night that 3 young friends, Jake, Emily and Noah, decided to take a late stroll, seeking a bit of adventure and perhaps a scare or two to break the monotony of their small-town lives. Little did they know, something malevolent lurked in the darkness, watching, waiting. The trio walked along the deserted streets, their footsteps echoing eerily off the weathered bricks of the old buildings. They joked and laughed, the sound of their voices a sharp contrast to the oppressive silence that hung over Willow Creek like a heavy fog. As they turned a corner onto Maple Street, a sudden chill ran down their spines, their laughter dying in their throats. There, on the sidewalk, was a man. The figure was curled up in a fetal position, his face hidden behind his slim, bony arms. His skin was dark and stretched taut over his skeletal frame. He had no hair and no clothes, and in the dim light he looked almost otherworldly. The man was whispering, a rapid, indistinct murmur that sent a chill down their spines. The teenagers exchanged nervous glances, their curiosity piqued, but their instinct screaming at them to turn back. "Should we check if he's okay?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. Jake, always the brave one, stepped forward. "Hey, are you all right?" he called out, but the man gave no response. He just kept whispering faster and faster, as if he were chanting some ancient incantation. Noah, the cautious one, hesitated. "Maybe we should call someone," he suggested, but Jake was already bending down to get a closer look. "Hey, can you hear me?" Jake repeated, this time poking the man gently. The man's whispers grew louder, but he still didn't move. Frustrated by the man's lack of response, Jake stood up. "This is creepy," he muttered. "What should we do?" Emily, her eyes wide with fear, stepped back. "Maybe we should just leave him alone." But Jake, driven by a mix of curiosity and bravado, picked up a small stone from the ground. "Let's see if this gets his attention," he said, and with a flick of his wrist, he tossed the stone at the man. The stone hit the man's side with a soft thud, and for a moment everything was still. Then the man groaned, a low, guttural sound that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand up. His whispers turned into a harsh, grating noise, and slowly he began to move. The teenagers watched in horror as the man uncurled himself. His movements were jerky and unnatural, like a marionette controlled by unseen hands. When he finally sat up, they saw his face, or rather the lack of it. His features were grotesquely twisted, his eyes sunken and hollow, his mouth stretched into a permanent, toothless grin. His skin seemed to pulse and writhe, as if something underneath was trying to break free. Jake, Emily and Noah stood frozen, too terrified to move. The man's whispers grew louder, more insistent, and suddenly he turned his head towards them, his empty eyes locking onto theirs. In a voice that was not his own but a chorus of many, he spoke. "You shouldn't have disturbed me," he hissed. "Now you will pay the price." The air grew cold and the shadows around them seemed to come alive, twisting and writhing like dark tendrils. The teenagers felt an invisible force pulling at them, dragging them towards the man. They tried to scream, but their voices were swallowed by the darkness. "What's happening?" Emily cried out, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't know," Jake shouted, struggling against the unseen force. "We need to get out of here." Noah, eyes wide with terror, tried to grab Emily's hand. "Run! We have to run!" As they were pulled closer, they could see the man's skin beginning to split and tear, revealing something dark and slimy underneath. The whispers turned into screams, echoing in their minds, driving them to the brink of madness. Just when it seemed like they would be consumed by the darkness, a blinding light pierced the night. The man let out a blood-curdling scream and vanished, leaving only a smouldering scorch mark on the ground. The teenagers found themselves alone on the sidewalk, gasping for breath. The street was silent once more, the only sound their pounding hearts. They stumbled back to their homes, their minds reeling from the night's events. To this day, they never speak of what happened that night. The scorch mark remains on the sidewalk, a silent reminder of the encounter. And every now and then, on a quiet night, they can still hear the whispers, haunting their dreams and reminding them of the price of curiosity. What's something people don't know about fear? It creeps in, just like this. When the clock strikes 3 and shadows grow thick, remember? The real horror begins. Good night.